come to France to investigate an intriguing relationship, an unusual bond between an upmarket French liqueur originally made by monks and their best customer. Our journey took us to the Palais Benedictine, home of the exclusive drink.
We are here in the Benedictine Palace, which is absolutely a unique place which was built in the late 19th century. And this palace was built to host the Benedictine product. So it's both in the same place a beautiful museum, a neo-Gothic museum, and it's also a distillery. And 100% of the Benedictine liqueurs is produced here.
They gave us plenty of information and also showed us around. We even tried a few cocktails, and then we watched this film.
Benedictine can be blended with brandy to make up the famous B&B cocktail invented by the barman of the very smart 21 Club in New York. So Benedictine accompanies moments of conviviality from Paris to New York and from Hong Kong to Rio de Janeiro.
Wait a minute, this was all very impressive, but one thing was missing, and it was their best customer in the whole world.
Nowhere in the world sucks as much Benedictine as Burnley Miners Club.
It is noted for drinking Benny. Anyway, it's bloody good. Look at that! Look at that! Look at that!
This bottle was sent to us by Benedictine. It's a 3-litre bottle and it's the only one in the world. We are the world's leading seller of Benedictine. I know that sounds silly, but we are, and it's a question of fact. And there used to be a 70cl bottle. Those are the bottles we used to get, and they were forever changing them. So this was handy to be able to refill and keep behind the bar. This will refill fairly often, but not the same as changing a bottle every 2 minutes, you know. So that's the reason for it. Sure. Yeah. Sure. There you go. Double Benny for the lady. Right on cue.
Alan Kennedy has been club secretary since 1978. When we arrived, he was getting ready for an annual celebration of the drink which is so popular with his regulars.
There you go.
Cheers, Nora. Do you want to be dancing?
Yes, just one, please. Great, smashing. On a Tuesday when I get my pension, I come up. I always sit in the same seat, either in this corner or in that. And I never move. I don't bother.
When Nora was young, she was one of the few women building jet engines in Burnley. Back then, she met her first husband, but things didn't work out quite as expected.
I found him with another woman, hand in hand.
Then she met Walter.
Walter was the chemist, just round the corner from BAP. Well, I fancied him since I was 17.
She's a good sort. She sits in the corner there, doesn't bother anybody, and has a chat if somebody comes and sits with her, and carries on drinking a Benny. She loves it.
Alan's overseen the growth of the club and the launch of what's become one of the biggest events of the year, the Benedictine Party.
Well, what we'll be doing, we'll be trimming the room up, as we normally do. We already have a compere in situ, although it's not the same compere, unfortunately, as last year because he's away. We've got the same organist, and we're just hoping that perhaps everyone that came in the room received 2 cheques or tickets, which enabled them to have a Benedictine, Benny and hot, Benny and ice, whatever.
Benedictine is a liqueur, so as such it can be drunk as a digestive or it can be drunk as a cocktail. The most famous cocktail is the Singapore Sling, which was drunk by Hemingway in Singapore, for example, but it's quite complicated to do.
You can't mix Benny with anything apart from water or ice. It doesn't taste right.
It's got to be Benny and hot water. Goes down smooth.
If you're a bit blown up, you're still a bit,
From your
a
lungs.
Benny and hot, and well, fetch it all up, and you're right.
A few years ago, Benedictine actually sent us different cordial drinks, and they wanted everybody to try, rather than just Benny and hot, They wanted them to try with the different stuff, Benny and orange, Benny and grapefruit, etc. And the people did try it, the members did try it, but they weren't right keen, and they very quickly went back to the Benny and hot, which is the traditional drink here, you see.
And tradition is something to be respected at Burnley Miners Club. Even when the tradition in question seems slightly out of date.
The women know when they made members that they shall not walk over that line, and so they keep to the tradition.
So you've never been to that area?
No, I wouldn't go. No.
We're not bothered about men's room, we don't live there anyway.
When you're playing cards or talking, snooker and that, what do you want a woman there? She should be at home cooking and cleaning and childbearing.
Alf always sits in the men-only area. A former miner, Alf married a good Irish Catholic.
Marie Cecilia Teresa Bernadette. Now that's not bad, is it? Oh, she's a real.
They go to Spain as much as possible, and when they're back at home, Alf loves spending time in the garden, tending to his roses.
I think it's the most beautiful flower there is. I mean, look at that. It's beautiful. Nothing to say we don't like women. Every man should have one or two of them.
Whether you agree with them or not, the rules of the club are respected by everyone. Maybe because they're rooted firmly in the past.
It's a working men's club. It's a private club, and we have our own rules. Things are changing, and no doubt we will have to change it in due course. But up to press, the brass line is there, as you can see.
The Burnley Miners Social Club was founded in 1918 by a man called John Schofield. Back then, working down the pit was not easy. Wages were low and working conditions were terrible. Roof falls and other accidents were frequent, and compensation was rare. In these circumstances, John, an injured miner himself, decided to start a miners' union compensation fund.
So that's why the Miners Club was formed. Now, he was a teetotaler and a non-smoker, but again, he realised that there was money to be made from selling ale, and that money was used for the miners.
The idea was a huge success. The club prospered and miners started receiving support. Several years later, their environment improved and John's fund was not as necessary.
In 1947, I think it was, the mining industry was nationalised, and with it brought certain rules which made working conditions for miners a lot better. So therefore they were able to relax on the union side and enjoy themselves more on the social side.
It's his 83rd birthday. Dushan, your birthday.
My birthday, I'm 83-year-old on Wednesday.
Kath and Dushan are loyal members of the club.
Oh, this is my club. This is my environment.
Their children and grandchildren visit the miners, and their daughter works behind the bar. Dushan went blind 20 years ago, but he hasn't let this stop him from going every week.
Dushan, talking to you.
What?
You adopted this new life. How did you adopt to your new life? How did you find it?
I don't know what.
How did you adopt to your new life? How did you find it?
Because I have to do. Put it that way, sir.
This club looks after the old people. It gives us 2 parties every year, bingo tickets free. It gives us Dushan, it gives us everything, doesn't it?
What you saying, Kathleen?
What I'm saying, Dushan, is it gives us a full meal. Hey, knife and fork effort.
In my personal opinion, appealing to young people, I don't think it does, because it's very old-fashioned in its ways. I mean, as you can see here, we have.
All right for me.
It's all right. Well, that's what I said for the young people.
This is a good club for everybody. Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome. Everybody you can come in this club, you don't know anybody, but you can sit down there and everywhere, and somebody will talk to you.
It's all right. It's always full of fellas. There's no women in hardly. Anyhow, I don't bother. I just sit here or in that corner.
Well, the first time that we opened the room up, we tried to obtain the services of a local celebrity, if you will, and we asked a chap by the name of Jimmy McIlroy, who was an ex-international footballer, well known in Burnley, but he didn't feel, his wife had died not long before, and he didn't feel like he could do it. So we turned to Jimmy Anderson, who's the cricketer, but he was away on tour, and so we contacted the chap that plays Zach in Emmerdale, because he's local to Burnley and he has used the club quite often. But unfortunately he was in Chile, and we're just hoping that perhaps could you arrange for some of the Benedictine people themselves to be here. I mean, it's a long way to come just for an evening, but right, I thought of asking him to come along for the evening. He'd be more than welcome, and I think it'd be better from you rather than me. All right, Laura. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Special Benny bottles, a Benny lounge, a Benny party. So how did Burnley, and especially the miners, develop such a close bond with Benedictine?
It started during the war, did that?
It's tradition from the First War. When the soldiers over in France...
There was a regiment called the East Lancs.
They got the Benedictine. So they put some in warm water to keep them warm in the trenches, because they were freezing and cold.
One Burnley soldier, Private Archie Wilson, wrote of nurses serving Benedictine with hot water. In a letter home, he said, "Lads of the 5th East Lancs Battalion are on my ward, and they all drink it." In the cold, damp trenches of the Somme, miners and other young working men who volunteered to fight discovered Benny. Private Wilson died from his wounds a few weeks after writing his letter.
So, after the war, the troops came back to this country, then recommenced in their employment with the pits, joined the Miners' Club, and obviously wanted to have Benny and Hot.
And the relationship had begun. A month after the end of the war, the club ordered 24 bottles. 2 weeks later, 100 more arrived, and 2 months after that, 200 bottles were delivered.
And the tradition has carried on.
At this point, the French after-dinner liqueur went from being a soldier's drink to a working man's tipple.
This town was built on coal mines, weaving and foundries. They've all gone now.
The membership was very, very strongly miners or miners' families. But in the 60s and 70s, most of the mines shut. And of course the miners had to find other jobs, you know, in the aircraft industry and manufacturing industries and what have you. These days the club is called the Miners' Club, but the club is a working man's club.
Did you work in the mines, Grandaddy?
No. I worked 41 years in a factory here in this country.
I'm an inspector on jets.
I came 1948. 1948, pal. Yeah, I came to work here, you know.
And all blokes used to come to me early of a morning because I really made a good job of examining them and doing them. I still have a little bit left here of jets there. I've been cutting it off, a little bit of jet there.
How do you mean a bit of jet?
Well, this jet broke in half when I tested it and it went in my finger. Ooh, it come up like that. Anyway, that bloke got the sack. I hope it wasn't through me.
He's a lovely fellow. He's a Yugoslav. He's now made into English.
I was feeling all right, finished with the war. And this and that, you know. I was glad to be free.
Ready line. Game on. On its own, number 6. 8 and 2, 82. 7 and 4, 74.
This is the library, it's only small, but it needs some attention. And Benedictine have been kind enough to send me some shirts. These will be used on the night of the party for the staff and what have you. It'd be nice to see them all dressed the same.
I just wanted to ask you a few things about Benedictine.
I like it. My second husband got me more interested in it. He liked it. And he used to stand at the end of the bar, and landlord said, "Why don't you cock yourself to Walter like he's not married?" I said, "Oh." Well, I said, I've known him since I was 17. I used to peep through his shop window. He'd never been married. Oh, and when we told his dad we were getting married, wow, he went up in... Oh, hey, I'm glad to get rid of him. Yeah. A grand bloke. Yeah, we used to have some good nights. Both on Benny.
Dushan, what year were we married?
30th of June, yeah. 1951. I was right then, you know, I can see everything.
We were married 55 years ago, and they said it'll never last. It'll never last. Because I was marrying a foreigner, but it has.
How did you get to know each other?
Dushan, when we were only what? He was 27 and I was 22.
You still remember the first time?
Oh, yeah. I loved him. He loved me. End of story.
You know, we're probably talking 150 shots, which is really about 6 bottles of Benedictine. So we put a few up ourselves, and we beg, steal and borrow from elsewhere, so to speak, you know. That'd be great if you could do that. That'd be great.
Benny night tomorrow night. And they're going to have French food. I didn't know it were a French drink. Benedictine, is it? A French drink? Oh, they're having French food. I don't want no French food. I don't believe in drinking and eating. Not to that extent.
But what we thought this year, we thought we wouldn't bother with the buffet this year. What we're probably thinking of, maybe putting something cold on, maybe some cold pies.
Alf couldn't go to the party. On doctor's orders, he's only allowed to go to the club once a week.
You only come on Fridays?
I do, yes, because I'm only allowed once a week.
Why?
Because I've gross of the bowels. What are you laughing at? Would you like gross of the bowels? A growth in your bowels? Don't you understand English or what, lad? Will to explain to him or what?
Come on. How about your milk and biscuits? You've had your meat. I'll have to go and get you some more. Oh. This was his piano. He was a pianist and an organist. He's played here for me and my friends, and we used to lie on bed and sing. And Walter said we were too old then to have any children. I thought, you cheeky bugger. Could have had one. I've got you, you're less trouble. I know, that's your seat, that's where you eat your meat, and that's where I put it up.
As usual, the party was a great success. Alan gave free Benny tokens to everyone, and the French buffet was replaced with pork pies and ham sandwiches.
Me bennies, I sucked them all. Hey, forget it. I had his too and he had my own too. Don't tell anybody. Hey, don't you dare put that on the pillow.
In the end, no one travelled from France as Alan had hoped, but he wasn't too bothered. Nora enjoyed the live music, and Kath got up to sing one of her favourites.
One bright and shining light that taught me wrong from right. I found in my mother's eyes. Those fairy tales she told are streets all paved with gold.
It's nearly 100 years since Benny first arrived in Burnley. A lot has changed in that time, but some things have stayed the same. Just as the spirit of the pits lives on in the club's character, the old soldier's drink is still a source of comfort.
God's gift sent from above, our real unselfish love. I found in my mother's eyes. Glad to meet you anyway. Take care.
Hey, have enjoyed myself today.
Alice, come on.
Hey, good night, God bless. Good night, God bless.